Classic Hollywood sold a dream of glamour, fame, and fairy tale success. But behind the velvet curtains and flashing cameras, a much darker reality existed. Young actresses were signed into contracts that controlled their bodies, their image, their relationships, and sometimes their entire lives. They were told what to wear, how to act, who to date, and when to stay silent. Speaking out could mean losing everything. Some were manipulated. Some were broken. And many had no power at all. On this episode of Gelden Stardom, we reveal the hidden stories of 14 starlets who entered Hollywood chasing fame, but found themselves trapped in a system built on control and silence. Because in classic Hollywood, the spotlight didn't just create stars. Sometimes, it owned them. Judy Garland. As one of MGM's biggest young stars, Judy Garland's talent made her famous, but her life behind the scenes was tightly controlled. Studio executives dictated her weight, diet, and daily routine, often giving her pills to keep her energized during long filming hours and sedatives to help her sleep. The pressure to maintain a perfect image began when she was still a teenager. Despite her incredible success in films like The Wizard of Oz, Garland struggled for years with exhaustion, anxiety, and dependence caused by the studio system's demands. Her story remains one of the most heartbreaking examples of how young performers were pushed beyond their limits in classic Hollywood. Rita Hayworth. Rita Hayworth became one of the most glamorous icons of the 1940s, but her image was carefully manufactured by her studio. Executives changed her hairline through painful electrolysis treatments and reshaped her public identity to fit a marketable fantasy. Behind the scenes, Hayworth faced intense pressure to maintain the persona that made her famous. Her personal life was heavily scrutinized, and her relationships often became part of studio publicity strategies. While audiences saw a confident scream goddess, the reality was a woman struggling with the expectations placed on her. Her experience highlights how studios controlled not just performances, but entire identities. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe's rise to fame came with strict contracts that defined her image, roles, and public behavior. Studios promoted her as a carefree blonde bombshell, even though she fought to be taken seriously as an actress. She often had little say in her projects and was expected to maintain a carefully crafted persona at all times. Behind the fame, Monroe dealt with emotional pressure, demanding schedules, and a constant fear of being replaced. Her struggle for creative freedom eventually led her to challenge the system, but not without consequences. Monroe's story reflects the emotional toll of being treated more like a product than a person. Jean Harlow. Jean Harlow became one of the brightest stars of the early 1930s, marketed as Hollywood's original, blonde bombshell. Under contract with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, her image was carefully engineered, from her platinum hair to the bold, seductive roles she was assigned. The studio tightly controlled her publicity, interviews, and even aspects of her personal life to maintain her box office appeal. After the tragic death of her husband, producer Paul Byrne, Harlow faced enormous public scrutiny while being pushed to continue working. Long hours on set and relentless expectations left little room for rest. When she fell seriously ill during filming in 1937, production pressures continued. Her sudden death at 26 stunned audiences and exposed the unforgiving demands placed on young stars during Hollywood's golden age. Frances Farmer. Frances Farmer entered Hollywood with talent, intelligence, and a strong independent spirit, but her refusal to follow the studio system's expectations quickly made her a target. Under contract with Paramount Pictures, she resisted publicity stunts, rejected superficial roles, and openly criticized the industry's control over actors' lives. Executives soon labeled her difficult, and her career opportunities began to disappear. As conflicts grew, her personal struggles were sensationalized by the media, turning public opinion against her. Legal troubles and forced institutionalization further damaged her reputation and isolated her from Hollywood. Once a rising star, Farmer became a cautionary example of what could happen to performers who challenged the power and authority of the Golden Age studio system. Veronica Lake. Veronica Lake became famous for her mysterious beauty and signature hairstyle, which was carefully promoted by Paramount Pictures. The studio built her image around glamour and allure, but strict control over her roles and publicity left her little creative freedom. As her popularity grew, long working hours and constant expectations created intense pressure. Reports of conflicts with producers and directors damaged her reputation, and she was quickly labeled difficult. In the rigid studio system, such a label could end opportunities almost overnight. Once one of Hollywood's most sought-after stars, Lake's career declined rapidly, showing how quickly the industry could turn against those who struggled under its demands. Ava Gardner. Ava Gardner's transformation from a small-town girl into a Hollywood legend came under the powerful control of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. The studio carefully crafted her image, overseeing her wardrobe, publicity, interviews, and public appearances to maintain her status as a glamorous screen goddess. Despite her growing fame, Gardner often felt restricted by the expectations placed on her personal life and career choices. Her high-profile relationships were heavily monitored and sometimes used for publicity. Privately, she admitted feeling unprepared for the intense spotlight and loss of privacy that came with stardom. While audiences saw confidence and beauty, Gardner struggled with the pressures of living up to a carefully manufactured image in Hollywood's demanding Golden Age system. Lana Turner. Lana Turner's discovery and rapid rise to fame placed her under strict control by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. The studio closely managed her image, publicity, and personal life, promoting her as the ultimate glamorous star. Her relationships and public appearances were often shaped to maintain audience interest and protect her reputation. Behind the scenes, Turner faced constant media attention and pressure to maintain perfection both on and off screen. Personal struggles and public scandals only increased the scrutiny around her life. Despite her success, the lack of privacy and heavy studio influence made her career a constant balancing act between public fantasy and personal reality. Kim Novak. Kim Novak became one of Hollywood's biggest stars after signing with Columbia Pictures, but her success came with strict control over her identity. Studio head Harry Cohn carefully managed her appearance, roles, and even her public behavior. Novak often resisted the pressure to become a manufactured image, leading to conflicts with the studio. She fought for better roles and creative respect, refusing to follow publicity plans she didn't believe in. As a result, she was sometimes labeled difficult. Her struggle highlighted the tension between artistic independence and the rigid authority of the Golden Age studio system. Olivia de Havilland. Olivia de Havilland made Hollywood history by challenging the power of Warner Brothers. Frustrated with being assigned repetitive roles and having her contract extended through suspensions, she took the studio to court in 1943. At the time, studios could control actors' careers for years with little freedom. De Havilland's legal battle risked her career but ultimately changed the industry. She won the case, limiting the studio's ability to extend long-term contracts. Known today as the De Havilland decision, her victory gave actors greater independence. Her courage exposed the restrictive nature of the system and helped weaken the absolute control studios once held over performers. Dorothy Dandridge. Dorothy Dandridge broke barriers as one of the first black actresses nominated for an Academy Award, but her career was limited by both studio control and racial discrimination. Major studios, including 20th Century Fox, offered few leading roles for black actresses, restricting her opportunities despite her talent. Public image pressures and typecasting made it difficult to find meaningful work. As roles declined, financial and personal struggles followed. Dandridge faced enormous pressure to maintain her status in an industry that offered little support. Her story reflects both the harsh realities of the studio system and the additional barriers faced by performers of color during Hollywood's golden age. Peg Entwistle. Peg Entwistle arrived in Hollywood with high hopes but quickly encountered the harsh realities of the studio system. After signing with RKO Radio Pictures, she received only a few minor opportunities and was released from her contract shortly after her first film. Struggling to find steady work and facing financial difficulties, she became increasingly discouraged. In 1932, at just 24 years old, Entwistle tragically died by suicide after climbing the Hollywood sign. Her story shocked the industry and became one of Hollywood's most haunting legends, symbolizing the emotional toll and shattered dreams behind the glamour of the Golden Age. Classic Hollywood created legends, but behind the fame were real people facing pressure, control, and impossible expectations. These stories remind us that the Golden Age wasn't always golden for the stars who lived through it. If you were surprised by these hidden truths, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Gelden Stardom for more untold Hollywood stories, dark histories, and shocking celebrity secrets. And tell us in the comments, which classic Hollywood story shocked you the most. Because in Hollywood, the spotlight often hides the darkest shadows.